They mocked the cowboy for bringing home a blind Apache woman. Until she proved them all wrong, the town was small, dusty, and quiet most days. It sat near the edge of the open plains where the wind never stopped moving. The buildings were mostly wood, and the roads were not paved. People walked slowly, as if they were always thinking about something else. There was a general feeling that nothing ever changed in that place, and everyone knew everyone else's business. It was the kind of town where a stranger would not last long without being noticed. In that town lived a cowboy named Luke. He was not famous or rich. He did not own a big ranch or have many friends. He was known for being calm, quiet, and strong in the way that did not need words. Luke had a small cabin outside town, far enough away that he could hear the wind and the animals, but close enough to walk into town when he needed supplies. Luke did not talk much. People sometimes said he was strange because he did not join in the gossip or the jokes. He did not care about being popular. He cared about simple things like a clean horse, a good meal, and a peaceful night. One evening, Luke was riding home after a long day. The sun was setting and the sky looked like it was burning. The wind was cooler now, and the air smelled like dry grass. As he rode along the path, he noticed something unusual by the side of the road. There was a woman sitting on the ground, her head slightly bowed. She looked tired and lost. Luke stopped his horse and looked closer. The woman was dressed in clothing that was different from what people in the town wore. She had long, dark hair, and her face showed both strength and sadness. But what caught Luke's attention most was that her eyes looked empty, as if she could not see anything at all. Luke did not feel fear. He felt a strong sense of concern. He knew the area could be dangerous, and strangers often brought trouble. But he also knew that leaving a person alone in the wilderness was not right. Luke dismounted, tied his horse to a nearby post, and walked slowly toward her. "Are you okay?" he asked, keeping his voice calm and gentle. The woman did not answer right away. She did not even move. Luke realized she might not be able to hear him clearly. He moved a little closer and spoke again, louder this time. "I can help you. Do you need help?" The woman finally lifted her head. Her face did not show surprise. It showed a quiet kind of strength. She did not speak, but Luke noticed her lips forming words that he could not hear. It was as if she was thinking carefully before deciding what to do. Luke realized she might not speak English well, or she might not speak at all, but he saw that she was not trying to be rude. She simply seemed unsure of what to do. Luke reached into his bag and took out a small bottle of water and a piece of bread. He held them out to her. "Here," he said, "you look like you need this." The woman hesitated. Then she slowly reached for the bread and took a small bite. She looked grateful, but she still did not speak. Luke sat down on the ground beside her, keeping a respectful distance. He did not want to frighten her. He waited quietly, letting her know that he would not hurt her. After a few minutes, she reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were warm and her grip was gentle but firm. Luke realized she was trying to understand who he was. He did not pull away. He simply let her feel his hand, his clothes, his boots. He could tell she was trying to learn about him without seeing him. Luke spoke softly. "My name is Luke," he said. "I live nearby. I can take you somewhere safe." The woman nodded slightly, as if she understood. She did not speak, but her eyes moved in a way that told Luke she was thinking. Luke understood that she might not be able to see, but she could still understand things in other ways. Luke helped her stand. She was not weak, but she was clearly exhausted. He supported her gently and guided her toward his horse. She placed her hand on the saddle, feeling the leather, the shape, and the direction. Luke lifted her carefully and helped her sit. He made sure she was secure before he climbed up behind her. The ride to Luke's cabin was quiet. The woman did not speak. Luke did not ask too many questions. He knew that the best thing he could do was to be patient. He did not want to scare her by rushing her into a conversation. When they reached the cabin, Luke helped her down. He led her inside and closed the door behind them. The cabin was simple. There was a small table, a few chairs, a bed, and a fireplace. It was not a fancy place, but it was clean and warm. Luke went to a cupboard and took out a blanket and some clean water. He set them on the table and then turned to the woman. "You can rest here," he said. "I will make you some food." The woman nodded. She moved slowly but with confidence. She felt the furniture and the walls as if she was learning the shape of the room. Luke watched her carefully. He wanted to make sure she felt safe. Luke prepared a simple meal of stew and bread. The smell filled the cabin, and the woman's face showed a small sign of relief. She sat at the table and began to eat slowly. Luke watched her, feeling a mix of emotions he could not easily explain. He felt a strange sense of responsibility. He also felt a strong respect for her. She was not a weak person. She was a person who had lost something very important, but she still carried herself with dignity. After she finished eating, Luke sat down across from her. He wanted to communicate, but he did not know how. He tried to speak slowly and clearly, hoping she could understand. "My name is Luke," he said again. "You can stay here as long as you need." The woman listened carefully. She touched the table with her fingers, then she reached for the blanket. She pulled it close to her chest and nodded again. It was not a clear answer, but it was enough. That night, Luke set up a small bed for her in the corner of the cabin. He placed a candle nearby so she could smell the light and feel the warmth. He did not know if she could see the light, but he wanted her to have comfort. Luke slept on the floor, close enough to hear if she needed anything. He did not sleep well. His mind kept thinking about the people in town and what they would say. He knew that the town would not accept what he had done. They would not understand why he would help a stranger, especially someone who looked different from them. The next morning, the town was loud. Luke could hear the sounds of people talking and laughing outside. He could feel the judgment in the air, even though he had not gone into town yet. He decided to go anyway. He needed supplies, and he needed to see how people would react. He left the cabin quietly and walked toward town. As he approached, he saw a group of men standing near the saloon. They were talking loudly and looking in his direction. Luke heard one of them say, "That's Luke, the one who brought that blind woman home." Another man laughed. "He must be crazy. Why would he bring an Apache woman here?" Luke did not answer. He walked past them with his head held high, but inside he felt a sting of hurt. He knew that the people in town were not cruel because they wanted to be. They were cruel because they were afraid. They did not understand the woman. They did not understand Luke's choice. As he walked further into town, he saw more people staring. Some whispered, some pointed. A few children laughed. Luke tried to ignore them, but it was not easy. He could feel their eyes on him like a heavy weight. At the general store, the owner looked up when Luke entered. He did not greet him like he usually did. Instead, he gave Luke a look of suspicion. "Need anything?" the owner asked. Luke nodded. "Just supplies," he said. "Food, candles, and a few blankets." The owner hesitated. "For you?" he asked. Luke did not want to lie. He decided to be honest. "For her," he said, pointing toward the cabin in the distance. "She's staying with me." The owner's face changed. He looked like he was trying to understand something he did not want to understand. "Why?" he asked, not sounding kind. Luke took a deep breath. "Because she needed help," he said simply. The owner stared at him for a moment, then shrugged. "You do what you want," he said. "But don't expect the town to accept it." Luke left the store with his supplies and walked back to his cabin. He felt tired, not just in his body but in his heart. He knew he had done the right thing, but he also knew that the town would never see it that way. When he returned home, the woman was sitting near the fireplace. She looked calm and peaceful. She had not asked for anything. She had simply stayed and waited. Luke placed the supplies on the table and sat down beside her. He did not say much. He simply looked at her and realized something important. This woman had already faced a world that did not accept her. She had already lived with fear, pain, and loneliness. She had survived in ways that Luke could not fully understand. And now, in this small cabin, she had found a place where someone cared about her. Luke reached out and gently touched her hand. She squeezed his fingers like she was thanking him without words. Luke felt a warm feeling in his chest. It was not pride. It was something deeper. He knew that the town might never accept them. He knew that people might continue to mock him. But he also knew that he could not turn back now. He had made a choice, and he would stand by it. The woman looked up at him, and for the first time, Luke noticed something he had not seen before. She had a calm, confident expression. She was not afraid of the town. She was not afraid of what people thought. Luke realized that she was stronger than anyone in town had guessed. And that was when he understood that the real story was not about her blindness or her background. It was about courage, and it was about kindness that did not ask for approval. The days after the woman arrived were quiet at the cabin. The wind still blew through the trees and the sun still rose and set like it always had. But something had changed. The air felt different around Luke. He felt a new kind of responsibility. He had taken a risk, and now he had to live with it. The town's whispers were still there, but they seemed farther away when he was near her. Luke tried to do simple things. He worked on the land, fixed fences, and fed his horse. He also tried to learn more about the woman, but he was careful not to push her too hard. He wanted to respect her privacy. He wanted to show her that she was not a problem or a burden. The woman did not speak much, but she was not silent either. She made small sounds like soft humming as she moved around the cabin. She also used her hands to touch things and learn their shapes. She was learning the cabin quickly. She knew where everything was, and she moved with confidence. Luke began to notice something else about her. She had a sense of direction that seemed almost magical. Even without sight, she could walk without bumping into furniture. She could tell where the door was, where the table was, and where the bed was. Luke watched her with a mixture of wonder and respect. He had never met anyone who seemed so comfortable in a place they could not see. One morning, Luke woke up early. He looked at the woman, who was already awake. She was sitting by the window, though she could not see outside. She had her hands on her lap, and she seemed to be listening to something. Luke felt a strange feeling in his chest. He realized that he was curious about her. He wanted to know her story. He wanted to know how she had survived and how she had ended up alone by the road. He wanted to know what she had lost and what she still hoped for. He decided to ask her, but he did not want to scare her with too many questions. He spoke softly, as if he was talking to a friend. "Where are you from?" he asked. The woman did not answer right away. She sat quietly for a moment, then she reached out and touched Luke's face gently. She moved her fingers across his cheek and down to his chin. It was a strange feeling for Luke. He realized she was trying to understand him the way she understood the cabin, by touch. She then touched his chest where his heart was. Luke felt a warm, calm feeling. He realized she was telling him that she felt safe with him. She was not just answering his question. She was showing him that she trusted him. Luke smiled. "I'm from around here," he said. "I was born in this area. I grew up with the land." The woman listened carefully. She nodded, and then she made a sound like a soft hum. It was not a word Luke understood, but it felt like a response. Luke realized that she might be speaking in her own language. He did not know what she was saying, but he could feel that she was trying to communicate. He wanted to learn her language, but he did not know where to begin. Days passed, and Luke tried to teach her small things. He showed her how to use a knife safely, how to build a fire, and how to cook simple meals. He also taught her how to take care of the horse. She learned quickly. She was careful and focused, and she never complained. One afternoon, Luke decided to take the woman outside. He wanted her to feel the world beyond the cabin. He led her slowly, step by step, and made sure she was safe. They walked toward a small field near the cabin. The field was full of tall grass, and the wind moved through it like a river. Luke stood beside her and said, "This is the field. The wind comes through here often." The woman smiled. Luke could not see the smile, but he could hear it in her voice. She lifted her hands and let the wind touch her fingers. She seemed to enjoy it. She moved her head slightly, as if she was listening to the sounds around her. Luke felt a sudden sense of sadness. He thought about how many things she must have missed. He thought about the sun setting and the stars shining and how she could not see them. He thought about how the world could be beautiful and how she might never see that beauty in the same way others did. But then he realized something. She was not sad. She was not feeling sorry for herself. She was living in the moment. She was using her other senses to experience the world. She was not letting her blindness stop her from enjoying life. Luke admired her strength. He felt ashamed of the way people in town had judged her. He realized that they had been quick to judge something they did not understand. They had seen her as a problem, not as a person. That evening, Luke returned to town to get more supplies. He expected the same reaction as before. He expected the whispering and the staring. But something was different this time. As Luke walked through town, he noticed that people were not laughing as loudly. They were not pointing as much. Some of them were still staring, but their expressions looked less cruel. It was as if they were beginning to think. Luke stopped at the saloon to buy some coffee. The owner looked at him and then at the supplies he was carrying. "You're still helping her?" he asked, not sounding angry this time. Luke nodded. "Yes," he said. The owner sighed. "I don't understand it," he said quietly. "But I can see she is not causing trouble." Luke felt a small relief. It was not much, but it was something. He realized that the town was starting to see the woman as a human being, not just as a stranger. He hoped this would continue. On the way back to the cabin, Luke heard a soft sound. It was a voice calling his name. He turned and saw a young boy standing near the road. The boy looked nervous, but he seemed determined. "Luke," the boy said, "I want to ask you something." Luke approached him slowly. "What is it?" he asked. The boy hesitated. Then he said, "Is it true she can't see?" Luke nodded. "Yes," he said. The boy looked down. "My mom says she is dangerous," he said quietly. "She says we shouldn't trust her." Luke looked at the boy and felt a wave of sadness. He realized that the fear in the town was not only coming from adults. It was being passed down to children. People were teaching their children to judge before they knew the truth. Luke knelt down to the boy's level. "She is not dangerous," he said gently. "She is just different." The boy looked up. His eyes were full of curiosity. "Why did you bring her here?" he asked. Luke thought for a moment. He wanted to give the boy an answer that was simple and true. He said, "Because she needed help. And because I believe we should help people when we can." The boy nodded slowly. He seemed to understand, but he still looked unsure. Luke stood up and patted the boy on the shoulder. "Go home," he said, "and tell your mom the truth." The boy walked away, but Luke could tell that his words had made an impression. It was a small step, but it was a step in the right direction. When Luke returned to the cabin, he found the woman sitting by the fireplace. She was holding a small object in her hands. Luke recognized it as a small piece of cloth. He realized she was practicing. She was trying to learn how to sew. Luke sat beside her and watched her carefully. She was focused, and her hands moved with precision. He realized that she was not only learning, she was improving. She was becoming skilled at tasks that required patience and care. Luke felt a sense of pride. Not pride in himself, but pride in her. He was proud of her strength and determination. That night, Luke lay on the floor and listened to the sounds around him. He heard the woman breathing softly. He heard the wind outside. He heard the distant sounds of the town. He felt a calm feeling in his heart. He knew that the town might still be afraid. He knew that some people might never accept her. But he also knew that she was not afraid. She was not hiding. She was living her life with courage. Luke realized that the real challenge was not only in helping her. The real challenge was in changing the way people thought, and he was ready to face that challenge. Luke woke up early again like he always did. The morning was calm, and the sun was just starting to rise. He could hear the birds singing and the wind moving through the trees. He felt a sense of peace in the air, but he also felt a small worry in his heart. The town still did not fully accept the woman. Luke knew that this was only the beginning of a long journey. He walked to the window and looked out at the field. The grass moved gently in the wind, and the light of the sun made everything look golden. He thought about the woman and how she had adapted to life in the cabin. He thought about how she had learned to move around and how she had become more confident. He felt proud of her, but he also felt protective. He went outside and started his daily work. He fed the horse and checked the fences. He wanted to keep the land in good shape. He also wanted to keep his mind busy, because sometimes his thoughts could become heavy. He did not want to think too much about the town's judgment. Later, he went back inside and found the woman sitting at the table. She was holding a small jar and listening to something. Luke walked over and saw that the jar was filled with small stones. He realized she was sorting them, feeling each one with her fingers. Luke was curious. "What are you doing?" he asked. The woman smiled. She lifted her hands and touched Luke's face gently, as if she was thanking him for asking. Then she moved her fingers in a way that looked like she was explaining something. Luke did not understand her words, but he understood the meaning. She was showing him that she was making something. Luke sat down and watched her carefully. He saw that she was creating a small necklace. She was using the stones and a thin piece of thread. Her hands moved with care and skill. Luke was amazed. He had not expected her to have such talent. He asked her, "Are you making something for me?" She nodded. She reached out and placed the necklace in his hands. It was simple but beautiful. The stones were smooth and the thread was tied carefully. Luke felt a warm feeling in his chest. He realized that she was not only learning, but she was also giving back. Luke smiled and said, "Thank you." The woman nodded and then reached for Luke's hand again. She pressed his palm gently, as if she was telling him that she was happy. Luke understood her message. She was not just a guest in his home. She was becoming a part of his life. That day, Luke decided to do something different. He wanted to show the woman the world beyond the cabin. He wanted her to feel the town and the people, even if they did not accept her yet. He wanted her to understand that she was not alone. He prepared a small basket of food and water. He also brought a small blanket for her to sit on. He led her to the edge of the town, where the land opened up into a wide area. The view was beautiful. The sky was big and clear, and the land looked endless. Luke sat down on the ground and helped the woman sit beside him. He pointed out the direction of the town, and then he pointed to the field and the mountains in the distance. He spoke softly, describing the world around them. "The town is over there," he said, "and the mountains are over there. The sky is big and the wind is strong." The woman listened carefully. She closed her eyes and breathed in the air. She seemed to enjoy the description. Luke realized that he was helping her imagine the world. He was helping her build a picture in her mind. After a while, they heard the sound of footsteps. Luke turned his head and saw a man walking toward them. The man was a farmer who lived near the town. He looked curious and a little nervous. "Luke," the man said, "what are you doing out here?" Luke stood up. "Just enjoying the day," he said. The farmer looked at the woman. He hesitated and then he said, "Is she still with you?" Luke nodded. "Yes," he said, "she is staying with me." The farmer looked uncomfortable. "I don't know why you are helping her," he said. "She is different." Luke felt a small anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Different does not mean bad," he said. The farmer did not answer. He looked away and then walked back toward town. Luke watched him leave, feeling a mixture of sadness and frustration. He realized that the town's fear was not going away quickly. People were still uncomfortable with the unknown. The woman sensed Luke's emotions. She reached out and touched his hand. Luke felt the warmth and calmness in her touch. He realized that she was not only strong, but she was also wise. She understood people in a way that Luke did not. She knew how to stay calm, even when others were not. That evening, Luke returned to the cabin and found the woman waiting for him. She had a small bowl of water and a cloth. She had been preparing to clean the cabin. Luke felt touched by her actions. She was not only living in his home, she was taking care of it. Luke sat down and watched her work. He felt a deep respect for her. He realized that she was not only learning from him, she was also teaching him. She was teaching him how to be patient, how to be calm, and how to be strong in the face of fear. As the days passed, the woman continued to learn and grow. She learned how to do simple chores, how to cook, and how to care for the land. She also learned how to communicate with Luke. They developed a special way of talking without words. Luke would speak slowly and clearly, and she would respond with her hands and her expressions. One day, Luke decided to show the woman a simple game. He found some small stones and drew a circle in the dirt. He explained the rules by touching her hands and showing her the stones. He taught her how to play, and she quickly understood. The game was not about winning. It was about connection. It was about sharing a moment of joy. The woman laughed softly when she realized she was good at it. Luke laughed too. It was the first time he had heard her laugh, and it made him feel happy. That night, Luke went to bed feeling calm. He thought about the town and the woman. He thought about how the town still feared her and how she still remained strong. He thought about how people often judged others based on what they did not understand. He realized that the woman had already changed something in the town, even if the change was small. She had shown Luke a different way to live. She had shown him that kindness could be stronger than fear. Luke closed his eyes and fell asleep. He knew that the next days would bring new challenges. He knew that the town might still judge them, but he also knew that the woman was not alone anymore. She had a home. She had someone who cared. And that was the beginning of something new. Luke woke up early, like he always did. The sky was clear and the air felt fresh. The day started like any other day, but Luke had a feeling that something important was about to happen. He did not know what it was, but he could sense a change in the air. He went outside and checked on the horse. The horse looked healthy and calm. Luke felt grateful for the animal. It had been his friend for many years. He then walked back to the cabin where the woman was already awake. She was sitting by the table, holding the necklace she had made for Luke. She was touching it carefully, as if she was remembering something. Luke smiled when he saw her. He felt a warm feeling in his chest. He walked over and gently took the necklace from her hands. He held it up and looked at it closely. It was simple, but it was beautiful. He realized that the woman had put a piece of herself into it. She had used her hands and her patience to create something that showed her appreciation. Luke placed the necklace around his neck. He could feel the smooth stones against his skin. He looked at the woman and nodded. He wanted her to know that he appreciated her gift. The woman smiled. She touched Luke's chest gently, and then she moved her hand toward the door. Luke understood. She wanted to go outside. Luke opened the door and stepped outside with her. The morning sun was bright, and the air smelled like grass and earth. Luke led her toward the field just like before. He wanted to show her something special. They walked for a while until they reached a small hill. Luke stopped and looked around. The view from the hill was wide and open. The town was far in the distance, and the land stretched out as far as the eye could see. Luke pointed to the distance and said, "This is the world. It is big. There is so much to see." The woman listened carefully. She stood still, feeling the wind. She seemed calm and peaceful. Luke realized that she was not only experiencing the world through her senses, she was also learning to trust Luke more and more. Suddenly, Luke heard a sound. It was not loud, but it was different. It was a sound of something moving through the grass. Luke turned his head and listened carefully. He could not see anything, but he could hear it clearly. The woman also heard it. She moved closer to Luke and placed her hand on his arm. Luke felt the pressure and knew that she was trying to tell him something. Luke whispered, "What is it?" The woman moved her fingers in a way that looked like she was describing something. Luke realized that she was saying there were people coming. He felt a slight worry in his chest. He did not know who they were, but he knew it was not a normal sound. Luke looked toward the town and then toward the direction of the sound. He could not see anyone, but he could feel that something was happening. He decided to go back to the cabin and prepare. They walked quickly but carefully. Luke did not want to rush too much because he did not want to scare the woman. He also did not want to make any sudden movements that could cause her to lose balance. When they reached the cabin, Luke closed the door and listened. He could hear the sound of footsteps outside. It was a group of people. They were coming closer. Luke felt his heart beat faster. He did not know what they wanted. He hoped they were not coming to cause trouble. He hoped they were not coming to take the woman away. The woman sat near the fireplace, calm and quiet. She listened carefully. She did not show fear. Luke admired her strength. He realized that she was not afraid of the unknown. She was used to living with uncertainty. She was used to facing challenges without seeing them. Luke went to the window and looked outside. He could see a group of people approaching. They were not very far away. He could see their shapes and hear their voices. They looked like a group of travelers. Some of them were carrying bags and others were leading animals. Luke felt a mix of emotions. He felt nervous, but he also felt a strange sense of hope. He wondered if the people were friendly. He wondered if they might change the town's opinion of the woman. Luke opened the door slowly and stepped outside. The group stopped when they saw him. They looked at him with curiosity. One of them, a man with a kind face, spoke. "Are you Luke?" he asked. Luke nodded. "Yes," he said. "Who are you?" The man smiled. "We are travelers," he said. "We are passing through the area. We saw smoke from your cabin and wanted to make sure everything is okay." Luke felt a sense of relief. He had been worried, but now he felt calmer. "Yes, everything is fine," he said. The man looked toward the cabin. "Is there someone with you?" he asked. Luke hesitated for a moment. He did not want to reveal too much. He did not want to cause trouble for the woman, but he also did not want to lie. He said, "Yes, a woman is staying with me." The travelers looked surprised. They looked at each other and then at Luke. One of them spoke. "Is she different?" Luke understood what he meant. He knew they were asking if she was blind. He nodded. "Yes," he said. The travelers looked uncertain. They did not know what to think. But then the man with the kind face spoke again. "If she is with you and you trust her, then we trust you," he said. Luke felt a warm feeling in his chest. He realized that not everyone was cruel or judgmental. Some people were kind and open-minded. Luke felt grateful for that. The travelers stayed for a short time. They ate some food and rested. Luke offered them water and bread. The woman sat near the table, listening to their voices. She did not speak, but she seemed calm. She was not afraid. As the travelers prepared to leave, the kind man turned to Luke and said, "You are doing a good thing. Don't let the town's fear change your heart." Luke nodded. "Thank you," he said. The travelers left and the world felt a little brighter. Luke realized that the woman's presence was not only changing him, it was also changing the way others saw him. It was changing the way the world looked at kindness. That night, Luke sat by the fire and thought about the day. He thought about the travelers and their kind words. He thought about how the woman had warned him about their arrival. He realized that her abilities were not a weakness. They were a strength. Luke looked at the woman and felt a deep respect. He knew that she had a gift. She could sense things before others could. She could feel the world in a way that most people could not. Luke realized that the town's fear was based on ignorance. They did not know her. They did not know her abilities. They did not know her strength. They only knew what they had been told. Luke felt a strong determination. He decided that he would not let fear control the town. He would not let fear control his life. He would continue to stand by the woman. He would continue to show kindness and respect. He knew that the next challenge would be even bigger. He knew that the town might still judge them, but he also knew that the woman was not alone anymore. She had someone who believed in her, and that was a powerful thing. The days passed slowly, but Luke felt a change in the air. The town still talked about the woman, but the tone of the conversations had changed. People were less cruel now. They were not as loud with their jokes. It was as if something inside them was beginning to soften. Luke knew that change did not happen quickly. It took time, patience, and small moments of truth. He had learned that the hard way. He also knew that the woman had changed too. She had become more confident. She had become more comfortable in the cabin. She had become more like a part of his life. One morning, Luke woke up and noticed something different. The woman was standing by the door, waiting for him. She had a calm expression on her face. She was holding a small bundle of cloth. Luke walked over to her, curious. The woman placed the bundle in his hands. Luke opened it carefully. Inside was a small piece of cloth with a pattern of simple stitches. It looked like a small flag or a symbol. Luke did not understand its meaning, but he could feel that it was important. The woman reached out and touched Luke's chest again. She moved her fingers slowly, as if she was drawing something in the air. Luke realized that she was trying to tell him something. He watched her carefully. Then he understood. She was telling him that she wanted to leave the cabin for a while and go to the town. She wanted to see the people and experience life outside. She wanted to face her fears and show the town who she really was. Luke felt a mix of emotions. He felt proud of her, but he also felt worried. He knew that the town might not be ready. He knew that some people would still judge her, but he also knew that she had grown stronger. She was ready. Luke nodded. He said, "If you want to go, I will go with you." The woman smiled. She placed her hand on his arm, and Luke felt the warmth of her trust. They prepared for the walk to town. Luke brought the horse and he helped the woman onto it. They rode slowly toward the town, side by side. As they entered the town, people stopped what they were doing. They stared. Some whispered, but the whispers were quieter now. The fear in their voices was not as strong. They seemed curious instead of cruel. Luke walked the horse slowly through the streets. The woman sat quietly, holding onto the saddle. She seemed calm. Luke could feel her strength. He could feel that she was not afraid. They reached the center of town. A few people gathered around, watching them. Luke could see that some faces were still unsure, but others looked different. Some looked interested. Some looked thoughtful. It was a new feeling for Luke. He had not expected this. A woman in the crowd stepped forward. She was older, with kind eyes. She looked at the woman and then at Luke. She said, "I'm sorry for how we treated you." Luke felt surprised. He looked at the woman and then he looked at the older woman. He could feel the meaning of her words. The older woman continued, "We were afraid. We didn't understand, but I see now that you are a person. You are not a threat." The woman nodded slightly. She did not speak, but her eyes showed a calm acceptance. Luke felt a warm feeling in his heart. He realized that this moment was important. It was a moment of change. The older woman stepped closer and offered her hand. The woman took it carefully. Luke watched the scene, feeling proud and grateful. He could see that the town was beginning to open its heart. A few children stepped forward as well. They looked curious and excited. They wanted to touch the woman's hands to feel her presence. Luke watched as the woman smiled softly. She allowed them to touch her hand. She let them feel her warmth. The children laughed softly, not in a cruel way, but in a way that showed wonder. Luke felt a strong sense of hope. He realized that the town was changing, one person at a time. The woman had shown them something important. She had shown them that kindness and courage could break through fear. As the day went on, more people approached. Some were still unsure, but they were polite. They asked questions. They listened. Luke answered carefully, explaining that the woman was his guest and that she was safe. He told them that she was not a threat, but a person who deserved respect. The woman stood quietly, allowing people to approach her. She did not speak, but her calm presence spoke louder than words. She showed the town that she was not afraid. She showed them that she was not a burden. Luke noticed something else. The woman's senses seemed sharper now. She could sense the feelings of the people around her. She could sense their curiosity, their fear, and their kindness. She seemed to understand them in a way that was deeper than sight. As the sun began to set, Luke and the woman returned to the cabin. The town had not rejected them. Instead, it had begun to accept them. The change was small, but it was real. That night, Luke sat by the fire and thought about everything that had happened. He thought about the town's fear, the woman's strength, and the small moments of kindness that had changed everything. He realized that the story was not just about him and the woman. It was about the town, too. It was about how people can change when they see the truth. Luke looked at the woman and felt a deep respect. He knew that she had taught him something important. She had taught him that true courage was not just about facing danger. It was also about facing fear and prejudice. It was about standing up for what was right, even when others did not understand. Luke reached out and gently touched the woman's hand. She squeezed his fingers, and Luke felt a warm feeling in his heart. He realized that the bond between them had grown stronger. It was not just friendship. It was something deeper. The next morning, Luke woke up and saw that the woman was already awake. She was sitting by the window, listening to the sounds outside. Luke walked over and sat beside her. He spoke softly. "You were brave yesterday," he said. The woman turned her head toward him. She touched his hand gently. Luke could feel her calm strength. He knew that she understood him. Luke continued, "You showed them who you are." The woman nodded slightly. She seemed satisfied. Luke smiled. He felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that the town would still have its challenges. There would still be people who would not understand. But he also knew that the woman had proven something important. She had proven that strength does not depend on sight. She had proven that kindness is stronger than fear. And she had proven that people can change when they are shown the truth. Luke looked out at the field and felt the wind on his face. He felt grateful for the woman and for the journey they had shared. He knew that their story would be remembered, not because it was famous, but because it was real. It was a story of courage, kindness, and hope. And it was a story that showed that even in a small, dusty town, a single act of kindness could change everything.